I'm John David Birdall,
And I'm Zach Coleman.
and this is Comic Space, the only place in the whole galaxy where you can tune in, where you can geek out, and where you can learn something new about comics every week.
Hello, Spacers. I am Zach Coleman, the ever-loving blue-eyed thing.
Okay, am I in some kind of alternate universe? Who are you?
And with me today is the spectacular, the amazing John Birdall. Hello, John.
Hello.
I see you laughing there. Did you like that intro?
Oh,
I
yes.
thought
Yes. I was wondering, am I going to be called Mr. Fantastic, or am I going to be called the Human Torch, or, who was the robot? Who's the robot? Herbie?
Herbie, yes.
Yeah, so I'd probably ought to be introduced as Herbie.
Where? Where? Oh, I just get so flustered when I meet a celebrity. I just don't know what to say.
You're the spectacular, you're the amazing. That's what you are, John. Don't let anyone ever tell you different.
I won't.
And me, I'm just a big rock monster. But we are here today because we have both seen Shang-Chi, and we want to review it. For all those out there, we want to go over the story, we want to go over the characters, we want to go over the actors. I'm trying to look for the word. Tell me the word, John. I know the word.
So many elements of that happen in the story. I mean, setting, characters, portrayals of these characters.
Future events that might happen in the MCU, the action, of course. So I like to delve into that as well. So yeah, this is just going to be our takes on it, our 2 cents, what we liked, what we didn't like, could have been better, what was bad. And I will go ahead and put this out beforehand. Spoiler warning. Anyone who's listening to this is not cheated out of any kind of surprise or knowing the movie beforehand. So if you haven't seen it yet, pause this, go watch the movie. Why aren't you doing it? You should be doing that now. And then come back and hear our take on it. So let's start off with the characters. Very diverse movie, much in the same way as Black Panther was.
Mm-hmm.
Asian American, very Asian focused cast. The only white guy that could be seen is a bad guy. So I'm happy to see it. We have, oh my God, such names here. Michelle Yeoh, I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right, who has been in a number of movies that you've seen. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon being one of them. She's in the new Star Trek Discovery, or she was. Her character is gone off now. So I see John's eyes just widen.
I didn't know who you were talking about. I didn't commit the names of the cast to memory. It's like, I just went in, I didn't do a lot of reading about it, and I didn't know a lot about the characters. And so when you had said she was in Star Trek, I was like, oh, I know who you're talking about from the film that I did just see. Yes, also, yeah, Star Trek. Woo!
You're a big Star Trek fan, so I always try to slip that in for you, buddy.
Thank you.
We also have Aquafina too, who's a well-known name, comedian. Again, we've given spoilers, but the other known actor here is Ben Kingsley. He shows up again.
Yeah.
Benedict Wong, who does play Wong, shows up as well as a couple cameos. I was surprised to see that Tim Roth actually comes in. Anyone who's seen the trailers have seen The Abomination, and to see him come back, play a character for that little bit, is always fun. And then we have a lot of other actors who I'm not necessarily 100% familiar with. but deserves some recognition. Main cast is Simu Liu, who plays Shang-Chi. We have Tony Leng Chua as the Mandarin, Fala Chen as the sister, Liku Wu. Of course, Michelle Yeoh, I've already stated, but that seems to be the cast, at least the major cast. What did you think of their characters' portrayals, of the acting?
Okay, well, yeah, I went in not knowing too much about the characters, not too much about the actors. Okay, and it was really my first experience being in the theater again. And so that was great. So first off, it was just great being in the theater again and seeing a film. Like I saw Jungle Cruise, but this was like I went and saw it on the ultra screen they have here in town. And it's like, oh, it's supposed to be big. Do you have something like that there, Zach?
Something like that. We also had it in 3D. Did you have it in 3D too?
Oh no, no, I didn't see it in 3D.
No. One of these days I will, but I want to save it for something like, Eternals. I think Eternals would be great. And like 3D IMAX. If you thought the Celestial was big in the trailer, see it on an IMAX screen. Just But yeah, it is nice to get back out there, even though in some parts of the world, I mean, it'd be crazy to.
Yeah.
But it's nice that you actually got a chance to do that. So, huzzah.
Yes. And then like watching the film, gosh, I left I suppose feeling like these characters were family members of mine because like we were just it was just so intimate. Like all of the moments in the film, it was just really kind of like face to face. I mean, besides the fighting, but still those moments were really, really close. But where there were major sort of exchanges, of feelings and emotions and, dialogue, it's just, they were just so intense, yeah, close to us. Like the camera was close to their face, so we were close to their faces, but also, they were close to one another. And so it's like, I don't know about you, but it did seem to engender this kind of closeness, like we're best friends or we're family. And I left and it's like, I still don't know any of these characters. And I'm not putting that down. It's just like, but now it's like, oh, I'm supposed to know more. I'm supposed to watch more, and find out more.
So you're saying the casting was good for this movie?
Sure. Yeah, let's put it that way. I think I'm talking more about, but yeah, casting absolutely. But their I was about to say depictions and there's portrayals, but how they expressed what needed to be expressed in the film. I do believe that was just so powerful.
Okay, so they made a connection, at least to you, to the audience.
Yeah, and it's I don't know about. At first I thought like Katie was the best part of the film for me, or the character Katie. And I'm not saying that there wasn't anything that was good, but she was a really great way for the audience to get into, her being that sort of every person. Haven't you talked about that too? Having a character who is foreign to everything that's going on, or is really really doesn't understand everything that's going on, and that's our sort of way into some of like the fantastic elements or parts of the story, so her reaction to so much.
It's that mechanic in storytelling where they say, oh, this is the audience's character. Yeah, this is what the fans will connect with, identify with, as opposed to someone who like Shang-Chi, who I also kind of felt too, since you're bringing it up, that he was also kind of with the audience as well. And whereas he diverted into this mystical hidden history and background, all that kind of stuff, it's like we can go with him, and yet we still have this duality with Katie in being, sort of the normal person.
Yes. Yes.
Like we can either go this way, or we can go that way, or we can go both ways. But we have these two perspectives that we can identify with, and we can choose whichever one we want, and or we can choose both of them. But there's still that option, I guess. Two paths that they merge.
And so I say that, like, why I say she's the best part of the film is that she gets us into, his story. her character, and by her following along and asking questions and whatnot. And then she gets us out of his story back to just everyday life,
Yeah.
at the end of the film. So that's why I say she's the best. Like now, does that rival everything else in the film? I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking about storytelling and characters that way, because it's like we had our way in and we had our way out with her.
Yeah.
And that was really great. So that was like the best part of it, but of the storytelling. So how about like best part of just the story?
That's what I was going into. It's like, okay, let's delve into the story here. So yeah, you're saying that story-wise, she was that mechanism that leads the audience into the mysticism, the wonder, kind of stuff, and she's sort of that bridge back into it. It's like, yeah, we could do this, or let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was your? I have my thoughts on the story, but what's yours?
So the story, and I was thinking about it after leaving the theater. It's like, gosh, I do believe that, and this is not, I'm not criticizing the film, because they had a lot that they had to do with that film.
Critique.
Yes, I'm critiquing it and constructively. Like, that was a lot to have in the film that I really didn't know about. And I do believe I'm supposed to be glad that I went in not knowing too much about it. Especially the character of the Mandarin. Besides like perhaps what people had seen in other Marvel films.
Yeah.
But knowing like a little bit of the history of the character, I do believe it's great that they really didn't bring up a lot of how the character did look when the character did debut.
Talk about the man.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Mandarin, and basically just being really culturally insensitive. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. The way the Mandarin looked, the way the Mandarin behaved,
The stereotypical evil Chinese man who had the fangs and the claws.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Very
so,
early comics.
yes. And so I ought to say that it's great that wasn't brought up as much, but it's like the 10 rings have been brought up again and again and again. And yeah, it's in the film, but I don't know. It's just like a lot wasn't really touched upon how much they had influenced.
I would say, my assessment and going off of what you said about the Mandarin, out of the entire the Mandarin would be top on that list. I really do. I think the weakest point was the Mandarin points.
Oh, okay.
Just because there is so much history. And I don't want to get into the Tony's as an actor portrayal and that kind of stuff, but maybe it's just the way it was written. There's just so much more that needed to be done and said, and the character itself in the MCU just didn't have a lot of what I was hoping for with this character. It seemed to be the weakest. You never really saw his reasoning why when he first got the 10 rings and was conquering the world and stuff like that. He just had the rings and started conquering everything. What was his reasoning why?
Why?
Never really, he's just power hungry, okay, but there has to be a reason why for that power.
Mm-hmm.
Was his village attacked and then he sought the rings out and claimed revenge and decided, hey, I'm never going to let this happen again. I will bring order to the world, so that's why I'm going to conquer everybody. That's like a Doom, Doctor Doom, Vader, Empire type reasoning. It's like, in order to bring order, I have to instill an iron will. I have to conquer everybody. That makes sense to me. And honestly, the entire time I was watching this film, I was thinking that it should have reminded me of the character called Black Adam from the DC Comics. I mean, that was his counterpart, I guess. Here's a character, and I'm talking about Black Adam, who was self-absorbed with power. I have the power of the gods. Does not that make me a god? I should rule this land called Kadak, the Egyptian city or something like that. And it wasn't until his wife ISIS came along that he started to sort of be quelled.
Oh.
You know, you have this one despot here, but because he found love, and it was sort of the only one that could quell his rage, his fury.
Mhm.
It seems to me like they were trying to do that, but then again, they were also trying to make him too much of a nice guy.
The Mandarin, right?
The Mandarin, yes.
Okay.
With the Mandarin, I thought it was too much of a nice guy, too much of, a nice guy doing bad things. Whereas originally, here's a guy who's been alive for 10,000 years. And some of the stuff that he's done doesn't make any sense to me. Here's a warlord, a despot. He found love. Okay, that's great. And it's able to help him get into this nice side, I understand, but I don't see the reasoning behind him giving up the 10 rings. I don't get to see the cruelty of this warlord to the point where I think they should have had sort of like, here's the good, here's the bad, here's the good, here's the best, back and forth with him to the point where when it comes time at the end of the movie, does he do what he set out to do by releasing the gate and bringing back his wife, or does he save his son? Is he selfish or is he selfless? And the whole idea of him going back to get his wife in the first place, honestly, to me, should have seemed more like a power struggle or another attempt to gain power, and would have, I think, helped with his character and made more sense with his character. I mean, if there's a guy going out to search more power over death, or power to bring back a loved one, I think would be within his sphere of influence, reasoning, I guess. So him, it was just, I think he was the weakest story-wise. A good example of what I thought they should have done is I'd always hoped that they bring Ben Kingsley back, his character, and Trevor Slattery. But the way I had it was he was in some grimy dungeon somewhere, showing signs that he's not all there, and signs of torture. And it's like, this is what I do with people who F with me, show that side of cruelty. To the point where, as they were going on, he sort of ends up becoming the guide. You don't know whether he's all there or not, mentally. He's gone through this horrendous torture at the hands of his father. And it goes back to what I was saying of, this pull and push of, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? What will he do? Won't he do? It's sort of the realization of finally seeing your parent for the first time and whatnot. And it's just leaving himself vulnerable for when he actually does side with his wife in the past, the way he teaches his kids, even his reasoning behind finding that lost realm, that mystical realm. First it was to get the power, then it was to get his wife, and it's okay, we kind of lost his reasoning for being here, and he was power hungry. He was power hungry to control the world, to make it bow to his will and stuff like that. And sort of it was kind of all over the place. So I just think that character and that part of the story was the weakest, in my opinion. Shang-Chi and Katie were great. I did like the idea of bringing these two in together, and sort of, he's trying to escape his past, and she's kind of trying to escape any type of responsibility and trying to live her life the way she wants. And if you never try anything, you never fail. So it's like, hey, now I'm actually trying to try something, and look, I'm pretty good. And then there are other parts in the story where it's nitpicking, but like in that final battle scene where it's the soul suckers versus the temple guards, let's just call them that, and the Mandarin's men, and sort of there's those pause scenes where it's just like no one in the right mind would ever pause during a battle like this. You know, it's sort of you could at that point you could see like the hero shield. It's like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And then just the whole exchange between the different forces is like, we're not going to fight for you. And then the Soul Sucker comes on. It's okay, yeah, we're going to fight for you and stuff like that. So it's really, I guess my main critique of the entire story is they didn't make it as heavy as they should have been. I get it. It's Disney. We want to expand to the entire audience. But I'm expecting the Mandarin to sort of turn out to be like the Kingpin in their Daredevil series. You know, here's a guy who's had love, but he's not going to give up all that power or that control that he's wanting to do. And in turn, he ends up kind of corrupting his wife to the point where she's, if nothing else, an accomplice to what he's doing. And this is, of course, back to the Kingpin. But I never really got the reasoning why behind what the Mandarin was doing. So hopefully, you know, that's making sense to you. I mean, did you see that?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
I did see that. And like, yes. And so like, we're supposed to find these characters so endearing. They're supposed to be so delicious, basically, you know, because yeah, we're a sort of consumer and yeah, it's a product and all that. So these characters were delicious, and they were. It was like it was great to watch. Let's say that. It was great to watch this film, you know. It was great to get out. It was great to have again that experience, but it's kind of like when I left, I was like, who are these? Like, once again, it's like I don't really know a lot about these characters, even though I'd read about I'd read about and seen the Mandarin, you know, in other sort of media or whatnot. But yes, absolutely. It's like, why is he doing all of this? Like, I don't get what his motivation is, you know, to actually show him lose something, you know, and then try and I don't know what like a mother, okay, to lose his mother, okay, let's make it Freudian or something, you know, or psychological in that way. And so he needs to like try and gain the whole world because he couldn't save her or bring her back. And then at the end of the film, maybe that's why he's fighting so hard for his wife, because it's just like it brings up those issues again where he was powerless or impotent to stop something happening to a family member. And so it's like I won't listen to anyone. I won't, you know, even my own son, my own family. I won't listen to that. I have to save my family. And so it's like that would be something to try and unpack or unwrap or something like that. But yeah, it was just sort of, and this sort of sounds like an insult, but it was really sort of superficial, you know. A lot of the film was surface, but it was just so intense, you know, like people delivering what they had to deliver or expressing what they had to deliver or expressing what they had to express. It was just so intense, you know.
And I think it would have been like one scene. You brought this up, and one idea I had was, okay, he's off with his family, and he's sort of like put this to the side, not giving it up, but let it decay. I'm talking about the Mandarin with his family and his empire. Yeah, and where he's gone off with the wife, he's had the 2 kids, he's trying to live this happy life, and to show that double side of himself, both sides pulling. And the entire time I'm thinking, what would make this better is if his wife is the angel on one side and someone from his old past comes in and says, hey, you need to come back because this is crumbling. Sort of have the devil on his left, and sort of have that push and pull to the point where, do I go back? Do I stay? What's going on? And then when the bad thing happens, as his wife dies, he loses that angel on his shoulder and then listens to that devil on the left. And then that's what makes him go back to the 10 Rings, this once powerful organization, strengthening it, making it stronger again. And then building that back up. And then the entire time I was thinking, again, for the Mandarin, is like the entire time I was wondering, okay, here's a power hungry guy. He wants power. We know he wants to go back to this place. The kids obviously have this little item, MacGuffin, that he needs.
Mm-hmm.
And they never explained it in the movie too. It's who sent Shang-Chi the postcard with the dragon on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
The entire time I'm thinking, okay, his father's playing it in order to get the MacGuffins that they need in order to get into the realm in order for him to get the power. I was like, okay, that's what they're doing with this. He's manipulating them. He's putting them against each other. He's giving this sob story about, oh, how I found your mother and I can bring her back and she's really alive. And then the flip comes. It's like, no, I just need what you had, and this is the only way I can get you back here to manipulate you and to give me what I want so I can get the power that I need. That's what I was thinking. And then it sort of just changed into this thing without really saying why it needed to change. And it's just, I'm stretching here, but I still don't get it, you know? So, yeah, I mean, the story, I think, really needed some more work, especially with the motivation of the villain. And again, after seeing people like Thanos and Killmonger, whose reasoning were crazy, were very cruel, you understood it. You knew what it was. Thanos thought the universe would be better if half the people didn't survive. We're all of a sudden gone. Killmonger thought that the African American people would be better off if they were the conquerors. I mean, these were clear inspirations, clear reasonings as to what they were doing. But the Mandarin, it was like power for power's sake. And then he wanted his wife back for whatever reason. I mean, love, I guess, but it was just a lot of what his inspirations into doing things were just cuts. So, yeah.
Like a parent, right? It's like, what, you have to clean your room before you do this. Why? Because I said
Sure, because I said so. That's why. I mean, that's just Republican logic, and that doesn't work with me. It is conservative logic. I was raised in a conservative home. I know what it is.
Okay, sure.
So, yeah. Other than that, another thing too was the relationship between the brother and daughter, Leiko and Shang-Chi. I thought, yeah, we're just not as fleshed out. I mean, if she's angry with him, I was expecting more.
Yeah.
From that, more resistance from her. And it just seemed to resolve and meld away kind of without reason again. And this is one of those, well, I mean, it's one of those issues about movies versus a series. Yeah. And I think this is one of those instances where I think this story would have been a lot better with a series.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
Just so we could see all those pushes and pulls between the Mandarin, between the sister, even between Shang-Chi, whether or not he is this person or not. And I thought Shang-Chi was pretty cool because they dealt with the fact that, hey, he's not exactly a good guy. He tried to be a good guy, and then whether he was or not is up to debate, but he did actually kill that person he was sent to assassinate. So I love seeing that that conflict with them. It's like, I'm not this good guy you think I am. I'm not this hero. I did a bad thing. Mm-hmm. And it's up to us to decide, is he bad because he did that, or is the father bad for making him do it? Was he complete conscious control of himself? So I did like that part of the character, but it was just touched on and not really developed as it would be in the series. Do you feel the same way?
I do believe that I do. You know, it's like you brought up so many great points, and so I'm just going to address a couple, you know, and not just go. I found out I am the sort of person who's kind of like, okay, I've heard everything you said, so now I'm just going to go item by item, and it's like, no, I'll just cover a couple, and that's, you know, Yeah, being a series, and that's what I was thinking. Like, uh, they could only have. I don't know if Marvel's really doing themselves a disservice by being or having their characters or their properties become TV series and be movies and whatnot. And by that I mean it's kind of like what we're talking about now. It's like, yeah, it'd be great to find out more about the Mandarin, or great to find out more about like what Sean. I'll just say Sean.
Probably mention that my name's not technically Sean.
What? What is it?
It's Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
No, Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi.
Shang.
Shan.
Shang.
Shan.
S-H-A-N-G. Shang.
Shang? You changed your name from Shang to Sean?
Yeah, I don't...
I wonder
Yeah.
how your father found
Okay,
you.
I was 15 years old, all right?
What is your name change logic? You going into hiding and your name is Michael, you want to change it to Michael.
TV series and be movies and whatnot. And by that I mean it's kind of like what we're talking about now. It's like, yeah, it'd be great to find out more about the Mandarin, or great to find out more about like what Sean. I'll just say Sean, because like as we got to know him at the beginning of the film, what Sean's life was like. Yes, coming to America, like really, and then dealing with learning English and well, I mean, he already knew it. We find out later he already knew how to speak English, but what that was like for him being integrated, into the culture, or into society or something like that. So yeah, being a series that could have really helped out, especially with what you just talked about, or definitely like how the Kingpin, was made so terrifying, and so formidable, and so understood. Like we understood why he was like that, right? Isn't that what you were sort of talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
there? Yeah, yeah.
You understand where he's coming from with the abusive father and where he's standing, how he wanted to protect his mother, and in some sort of twisted way, he's trying to protect the city as well, but just doing it by bad means,
Yeah, he's a psycho. He's a psychopath, and that's what psychopaths do. They try and rationalize everything. But when you actually start to have a conversation with that person, it all falls apart. And it all becomes, I just want mayhem and destruction. That's all they really want is, others to suffer. But they'll say, I'm doing it for this righteous reason, and then you start to see the outcome. It's like that none of this, like if you were actually considering like warring with people, you would like conserve your resources, or make certain that you have a plan of some kind instead of just charging at people and attacking.
One thing I would say about that is I don't think psychopath works. I mean, sociopath possibly, yes.
Oh, sure, yeah, there's
It's
different
uncaring
I mean,
about other individuals in order to get your goal. It's
Yeah.
like I don't care how many people I have to step on in order to get that order, that freedom, that peace that I want. And that fits more along the lines of sociopath to me. But go ahead. That's just a nitpick. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not there's a disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that. It's just, it's you got to look at traits of people, or I guess characters, right? Traits of characters, and like what their goals are, what their motivations are, what the reason for everything is, and how much they actually contribute, or something like that. And if it's, I don't know, worthwhile or something. And then after a while, it's kind of like, okay, this isn't, I guess we could, yeah, isn't that sort of nitpicking where it's like, okay, was the Mandarin a psychopath or was he a sociopath?
Well, I think like psychopaths and stuff like that. I think of like Carnage and Joker.
Oh, okay.
These are guys who are doing things for whatever twisted reason that doesn't really benefit and kind of stuff. Joker just kind of kills in order to get a laugh. Does it for crazy reasons, because the world is a laugh. It's a joke. It's a farce. And trying to play it reasonably and logically doesn't make any sense in his own twisted mind. So killing people for a joke is humorous. I mean, that's a psycho. Carnage kind of kills because he gets off on the joy of killing people, seeing the light fade from their eyes and delving into those kind of characters. So to me, that's what a psycho is,
Sure.
or a psychopath. Where a sociopath is, there's a reason I'm doing this, and it does make sense. But the fact is, I don't care about how the other person's life. Thanos was like that. I'm gonna make the world a better place. I don't care how many people I have to kill in order to do that.
Yes, and so do allow me to perhaps state that, if you're dealing with psychopaths, you're going to run into, sort of rationalizing or whatnot. But yeah, it's going to be much more gruesome, probably, with psychopaths. Whereas like sociopaths, there's going to be psychopathy in there, right? Which there are going to be sort of similarities to psychopaths, so that's why I say psychopathy, But yeah, the Mandarin. I mean, the film begins with him slaughtering I don't know how many people and destroying that fortress or something like that, and we really don't know why. Besides, you had said because he said so or because they say so. And it doesn't make any sense because nobody's asking for that. Nobody wants that besides that one individual, and so there's what I mean by sort of psychopathy. But yeah, he's probably a sociopath.
Can't be too careful with all those weirdos around.
Okay, so you were talking about characters not being fleshed out, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about what? A manipulation, right? Him getting hold of the pendants or the MacGuffins and then tricking them. Because while I was watching it, I thought, well, he'll just trick them into finding the city for him, or the village. And while I was thinking that, because he had said, I hear her voice or something. And then I thought, whoa, what if that character who had been training Shang-Chi, like, what if that was his mother in disguise?
I thought that at one point too.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. But I think that kind of, I don't know, that kind of idea kind of reminds me of what happened in Black Widow.
Yeah.
So I think that, that difference there. And talk about characters that aren't fleshed out. I mean,
that's why I brought that up. That's why I brought that up on purpose.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this character kind of comes in and goes away pretty easily. So
yes. Did that character have a name? Like a stated name in the film? Did any other character or any other person say that character's name?
I don't know. I know it's a character from the comic books, but the name isn't coming to me. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, I mean, it's just some of those characters were just not really fleshed out all that well. And I understand it's a big movie, a lot of cast, and a lot of time you have to get into it. Yeah. But I mean, just a little bit on there. So to help us understand this character would be nice. I actually had thought that, back to my whole revisionist idea, that could have been the devil on his shoulder. Coming into his life and saying, hey, our kingdom is crumbling. You need to come back and help us. And, I think that would have been great to understand what this character was. It's like, even give him a little bit of backstory. It's like, you helped me. You gave me the strength to be this, and now you're not there for us anymore. Yeah. You gave all of us a purpose. And that would have fleshed out the Mandarin, would have fleshed out this character. We have fleshed out the motivation of why these guys are following them, not simply just cause. It's like, you gave us hope. You gave us this strength. We need you. You're doing no one a service here by, playing house. Mm-hmm. So having him be that devil on the shoulder would have been great for that character and actually would have made it for a better movie, I think. So, yeah. Story. And again, this is not to say I totally hate the story. This is just our critique. So, but did you have anything else, or do we want to go into like what did we like about the movie?
I do believe we've talked about what we liked here. I was talking about Katie being the best part of the film, or at least like the best part of the storytelling. I ought to be specific there. The best part of the storytelling, like her character serving as a device, or as a means, to getting us into the story. But, probably what we ought to talk about, being what we like about it. And as far as I know we both like this about the film. And if we start to think about the film not as a superhero genre picture, but as an Asian American sort of celebration, right? Or
Yes.
a celebration of Asian American culture. Okay, then the film really succeeds. Okay,
Yes, definitely.
that's what the movie's really about. Yeah, and so just the musical cues, that talking about legacy and history, and how they're together and seeing their rituals, and their um
They're
I
myths,
what was that?
legends.
Oh yeah,
They're
legends.
myths.
Yes, legends, or I was about to say what they hold sacred. And so yes, yeah, totally. But what's so essential and very necessary about that culture, about our culture, because yeah, we're two we're two white guys, in America talking about Asian Americans, but that's our culture too. I'm not trying to appropriate it. I'm not saying, oh, now I'm saying I'm Asian, so I get, to make claims that can't be substantiated or something like that. But it's the human culture, okay? It's the human legacy, and that's where this film really excels.
Mhm.
In that, yeah, that's something. I mean, by something, that's a realm. They go to this fantastic sort of world, and it's like they're going to, they're going to Asia. They're going to where they go, is and by that I mean Shang-Chi, his sister, Trevor, Katie, and then that creature,
Yeah.
that little creature who didn't have a face.
Did you get that joke? It's like he's very serious about that.
Or you guys sensitive, right? He's very
Yes.
sensitive about that, But where they
But
go, I'm not saying what all they did was, go through a certain forest and they're just in China. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's that they're in that sort of glorified sort of Asia, that, remarkable sort of Asia, that special or significant Asia.
no, and that's what I meant by like the myth and the fantasy and the legend.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going. They're going to the legend of their history, the legend of their culture.
Yes.
You see that with all the different creatures and the dragon, the foo dogs, the temples, the martial arts. So it's really calling upon their old history, their old culture in this fantasy realm,
Yes.
and then putting something in there to make it, a threat that they have to face. But yes, this is very much a celebration of this community, I think, and not just of the culture, but of the family as well. He's talking about his family and the importance of it, which is very much part of that culture, and very much in from what I know of Japan culture, where they put the last name first to honor their ancestors. So it's very much calling upon that. And again, as you had said, the Mandarin blaming the child, Shang-Chi, for not being there to save his mother, to be there to protect her, kind of placing the blame, and then again honoring the family, him going after the rival clan. He said, blood will be paid in blood. The aunt, Michelle, coming in and saying, oh, you're my niece, you're my nephew, we welcome you into our home. As whereas everyone else said, no, you're not welcome here, go away. He's like, shut up, this is my family. We will honor our family. So yeah, that is definitely one to be celebrated. And again, looking into this different culture that is not of our own, and seeing things we like. I've very much been interested in the Asian societies, cultures. I've been a fan of their myths, legends as well. Just everything about that culture is very, very beautiful to me, and very interesting. And even to their beliefs, legends, even the way that they fight. And that's another thing I want to get into is the visuals of this story. Not only is it a celebration of their culture, and I guess this can tie into it as well, but it is also a martial arts film.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of references, and I applaud them for this. I saw in the fighting, like with Jackie Chan and what he does with the Peking opera style, or learning that he used, or where he got his training, I guess. with Shang-Chi and that bus scene where he's going all over the place and using his surroundings and stuff like that. And I thought that was great. You had the wire work, which you would see also in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, that sort of fantasized style of fighting where it's very graceful, it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
And also even dealing with like the fantasy stuff. I remember the first 5 minutes of this film and said, damn, this film is more Avatar than The Last Airbender than Avatar and The Last Airbender.
If I can just get out of this situation alive, I will give up meat and sarcasm. I'm willing to be Sokka the veggies and straight talk fellow.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
I was like, oh wow. Because they were better at bending the elements than the actual movie about bending elements were.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know. I could. Gosh, there was a time, and perhaps we could close with this. I'll look it up. But Rotten Tomatoes, like the reviews on there, like I did that with our younger brother, or I guess the younger brother that I do have in our family. Yeah, he and I just read those, and he could not contain his laughter. He was weeping because like people were just tearing that film apart, you know. And it's like this film, I agree with you. Yes, totally. You know, like this got it. This got, you know, what one has to do, how one has to move, how one has to really become one, you know, with one's environment, you know, and the elements, literally the elements of the environment, you know, like fire and earth and water and oh my God.
Okay. And that's one of the things I liked about with the visuals, since we're talking about visuals, of the martial art.
Yeah.
In regards to the rings, in regards to the elements, it was mostly wind that was being used here, but the action reflects the movements of what the actors are doing. Yep. And that's another thing, too, with actually finding people who can fight. It was great to see the wire work that they did, but they didn't rely too heavily on it because they want to see these people who can actually fight in martial arts, and these guys could. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of, again, taking a page from Jackie Chan. It's like, you know, it's Jackie Chan because he's there, because he can, you know, these guys can fight because they're there doing it. So I want to applaud them for actually, with the movements and the action of the rings, you know, when he slams down on an attack, they make the rings felt like they were working in together, so it's an extension of their being, as what it should be in martial arts. Again, with the wind, the movements when she was waving around, the mother I'm talking about, and then of course the aunt, when they were doing their thing, the movements reflected what was happening around them. Whereas, again, referencing the movie Avatar: The Last Airbender, what I've seen is just the guys kind of doing their movements, and here's this rock floating, and then whenever they wanted to, it would go flying wherever it needed to go, and not matching the movement. So it really felt like, what are you doing, dude? It's like, okay, the rock just goes over, as in instead of here when she made some movement like that sweeping foot to a circle, the wind kind of did the same thing too. It's like, okay, I get it. She's sweeping around and she's making the wind circle around her. You know, when he attacks the Mandarin with the rings or brings it down or, you know, whips it around in order to shield himself, the movements reflect the action that's happening around them. So that's when, you know, that's one of the things I want to applaud here as well. And what made me think of Avatar: The Last Airbender. If they put this kind of thought process behind it, I was like, okay, like for the Netflix series that's coming out, if they do the same thing here as they did with this movie, then it's already, you know, 100 times better than what was produced before.
Yeah, maybe that was a bet that they had made or something, where it's like, you know what? Hey, let's just do a great job, or let's like outdo that film just to see if we can, you know?
Yeah.
let's just see if we, can, I don't know, really flex our muscles that way, or really show off, or something like that. And I'm reading some of I went to RottenTomatoes.com, and I'm reading some of the reviews for Last Airbender, because you had brought it up. And
Don't torture yourself. Don't torture yourself. You're gonna.
oh no, I've
Oh,
seen the film, and then I watched, and then I had read the reviews afterward, and there was one of them that just, oh my gosh, it was like a putrid patchwork. It described it as a like putrid patchwork of, I don't know, sort of terrible performances or something like that. And
yeah,
I'm not going
yeah.
to keep searching for it, but yeah, it's just like, I don't know what that. It had M. Night Shyamalan, so it's like he like did so well with The Sixth Sense. How could that not go well? The Last Airbender.
Well, with him, it's sort of like hit and miss. I mean, there are some good ones, and then there are bad ones.
Yeah.
And I really question him, because I remember when this was coming out, he said, "Yeah, I'm a fan of it. We'd always sit down there with my son, and we'd watch it together." And then I see the product of it, and I'm like, "Did you really watch it? Did you really understand what was going on? I don't feel the love. Where's the love? Just because of the mess that is here." And it's just, I mean, no cultural appreciation whatsoever with all the whitewashing that's happened.
Oh my God.
No understanding of the source material really well. And not even bringing in like the original creators of it to say, "Hey, let's sit down and have a talk about what I want to do," and then listening to these people and saying no, this isn't right. It needs to be this way. It's like, no, I don't want to do it my way. Well, you're not understanding the source material. Then you're not understanding what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
Speaking, of course, of the creators of Avatar, and it's just falling on deaf ears is how I hear it with that in M. Night Shyamalan. So again, with him, it's hit or miss. So
Sure. I found it too. I found the review. It was by R.L. Schaefer. It looks like IGN DVD, December 4th, 2010. He reviewed The Last Airbender, and then we can get off this. It's like,
yeah.
the film is an unmitigated disaster, a putrid patchwork of the original series stitched together by wretched performances, bad creative decisions, and a story that's all exposition, no depth.
Yeah.
So, this film is not that. This film had so much depth, and yes, with culture, and yes, with like family, and that's really what resonated with me. Is that, seeing all of these myths come to life, all of these legends come to life, and all of this kind of genre sort of staples, or I think you had been talking about tropes too, where it's like good guy, bad guy, first act, second act, third act, it's like it follows this sort of trajectory or formula or something like that. But, it's like I don't know what really held me the whole time was, how family can be so complex, and family can be so complex.
I don't know if you got that sense with the Mandarin. I'd be interested to hear what you think. But I kind of felt like with the Mandarin, it was like him maybe trying to do the right thing. It may not have been depicted clearly, but it's like it did seem to me like he was trying to do what was right within his own mindset, his own personal view. It's kind of like doing the right thing by the wrong means, I guess. And it's sort of that way, or at least he's gotten to that point where he can rationalize what he's doing. Yeah. Which is what kind of allowed him to want to save his son. The means were terrible, but maybe his heart was in the right place. And to the point where he still, honors his wife, and the fact that he still loves her, and the fact that, his wife, and by them, their children, can still have sway and still matter to him. He still shows that love. One thing that kind of reminds me of that is another good example of this sort of dichotomy between good and evil, honor, nobility, and then selflessness, is that depiction of Black Manta.
Oh, okay.
Remember that series, the cartoon series?
Yeah. You
Like,
got me,
watch
you
that
got me
episode.
into it.
Yeah,
Like I really hadn't watched it that much, and we were living together, at the time, and yeah, you allowed me to watch it with you, and
yeah. That relationship between Aqua Lad and Black Manta, and sort of that relationship where he was honoring his son and showing him love, respect, but again, doing dastardly things. And there was even a comment with that last episode of the second season, I believe, where Kendor actually makes the comment of, I know the nobility in you, father. I'm just sorry that you choose to go down this path.
Mhm.
But he's just so overwhelmed by hatred that he can't bring himself to do it, even if he has to fight his son, who he loves.
Yep.
And again, using that as an example, I don't think they really hit that mark with Mandarin, but you could still see some of those elements in there. As again, saving his son at the end, from the soul sucker, the giant soul sucker, and then honoring his mother at the temple, and still wanting to try and save her, quote unquote. So yeah, and it's definitely with the family, him going back to save his, to look after his sister who he hadn't seen before for a long time, and then the moments with his friend, with his aunts, and learning again about the history, the legacy of his mother, even going to the point where he goes to his aunt and saying, my mother was the only one that could beat him, show me how. And she kind of teaches him that soft way of fighting, and sort of honoring that history. So now that he has not only his father's presence, but his mother. So it's very much family history, legacy, as it is in that culture. So that's definitely to be applauded.
Yes. I'll see it again. I know I'll see the film again. It's one that has to be watched for a second time. It's
Okay.
I'm thinking about the scene now, like how is it going to perhaps affect me, or what am I going to think watching the film a second time?
Okay.
I mean, it's like any art, like any
Yeah.
art form or any, work. It's like just to experience it once or to view it once or something like that. You're not getting everything, you're not getting all of the, subtext or, all of
And
the.
I might, feel differently tomorrow too. I mean, all art needs time to digest. First impressions, which this is,
Oh,
could change and could come to realize. I mean, what was it? The Last Skywalker. I came out of that movie thinking, "Oh wow, that's great," and then I had time to think about it.
Oh no.
And like, yeah, and after I started thinking about it more and more, it's like, wait a minute, what? And then and so all art needs time to digest, and I'll probably feel differently. But these are some of the points that I've noticed coming into it. So, and then it's like, well, what else is like? What are the ramifications of this movie? I mean, you saw the post-credit scene.
Yeah, there was just one, right?
Well, there were two. We had like the mid-credit scene and then the one at the very end.
Oh, okay. I left before the very end.
Okay, I'll tell you that one if you want, but like,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's hit the mid-credit scene first.
Sure.
Wong does play a part in this. I did love him, actually sort of canceling the abomination. I thought that was pretty funny and kind of cool. But him showing up later to say, hey, there's something to this. And then we had the reintroduction of Bruce Banner, the Bruce Banner, not Professor Hulk, which is left me with questioning what's going on there. And then Carol Danvers coming in sort of like a cleanup crew of what's left of the Avengers, I guess. And then Wong analyzing the rings. And basically there's all around there saying, hey, this isn't mystical, it isn't alien, so what is it? And I have a theory on what it is. But John, I'd like to hear what you'd have to say about that first.
Well, okay, so about Banner, seeing Bruce Banner, I do wonder now because I wasn't even thinking about that. I watched it and I was like, oh hey, there's Bruce Banner. But then it's
Yeah,
like, wait a second, why isn't he Professor Hulk? And right now I'm thinking, will that tie into She-Hulk in some way?
that's what I was thinking. And one of
Right?
the things that came through my mind was Bruce Banner's looking old. I
Oh,
don't know if it was just a projection of him or what, but it wasn't doing him any favors.
oh, okay.
So, and he's still wearing the sling too. His arm is still busted up, and I would think by now it would be healed. So I'm thinking, okay, to sort of transitioning into these new Avengers, which I think Shang-Chi is pretty much going to be in,
Oh,
um, is just a setup for a new Hulk, a She-Hulk,
mhm.
because he's still busted up with his arm. He's back to regular old Banner, not the Professor Hulk, which he has stated that, oh, we found this balance with the Hulk and me. We combined the two together, and now we're the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So it's like, what happened there? And I think they are, yes, in fact, leading up to a She-Hulk. If that doesn't happen in between, Endgame and this movie, so that's a possibility.
Yeah.
But as far as my theory for the rings go,
Oh, yeah,
uh,
yeah, I didn't even talk about the rings, but go right ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh,
Did you?
yeah, at first I thought perhaps they're like if they're not alien and they're not mystical or something like that, I uh, that it's sending out a signal. Okay, so the rings were actually okay in the comics, right? They were a power source for a vessel, weren't they?
Uh, well, they kind of switched it up, and it's kind of been retconned. The
Okay,
rings were actually rings themselves on the fingers of whoever wore them.
yeah,
And beginning, they were alien technology from the ship that brought Fing Fang Foom to
yeah,
Earth. And then later on, it was believed to actually there were some sort of spirits or entities within the rings and
oh,
stuff like that. So they kind of retconned it a little bit to say, no, here's the actual truth from what you've already heard.
sure,
But the signal
yeah,
that was going out
uh-huh.
and the effect, the visuals, especially when Shang-Chi actually took over, because they changed colors, if you hadn't noticed that,
I did.
made me think, yeah, you didn't notice that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Made me think of the Celestials.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it is. I mean, if it's not mystical, if it's not alien, as in scrolls or Kree or anything like that, anything they know, I think it's the Celestials, because that same golden glow is what you see off the Celestials in all the trailers.
Okay.
Athena with her weapons she's making, Gilgamesh when he brings up his armor, any depiction of their powers always has that golden glow. And since, of course, Eternals is coming up,
Mhm.
my guess is that something's happening and it's sending out a signal to whatever that is. I think it might actually even be another celestial. So that was my theory on that.
Sure.
Sort of like bringing that up.
Uh-huh.
And if possibly we're getting into, another Avengers type event where it's like Thanos or build up or something like that, it could be maybe a hearken to Galactus. I don't know. Or more Celestials coming to Earth, maybe playing a role there. Who knows? I mean, I often thought that maybe Kang might not be the ultimate bad guy, or maybe he is. Maybe he's manipulating something outside the realms of time and stuff like that. Or maybe the Celestials or some form of Celestials might actually be, a mid-level boss, speaking in video game terms. So that was always my theory on that when I started thinking about it. And then, the post-credits scene at the very end was basically it was the sister back in the compound, like they had mentioned just before Wong showed up. It's like she's dismantling, the compound and the tin ring, and we see her in a room taking her stuff down. Razor Fist comes in and says they're ready. She's like, okay, I'll be there in a minute. And she comes out to see that not only has it not been dismantled, it's kind of taking on her empire. She's expanded to the point where now it's, it kind of pans out from where she's sitting on the throne with the 10 rings behind her. And she has her old, I guess, right-hand man from the fighting ring with her in a nice Armani suit. Razor Fist is on the other side. It starts expanding out. You see more people in the business. You expand even more into the training grounds. You see women training along with the men. You see more artwork on the walls, graffiti, like what she had at her old place. The 10 rings still are alive and well. We just don't know to what extent yet. Is she continuing her fighting, empire, or is it actually going to be a terrorist organization? We don't know. So they've kind of left that into the air and kind of, I think, possibly going into more of the conflict between brother and sister.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting to see.
Yes, it could.
So,
yeah. It's complex. It's complicated, right? Family is complex and complicated.
Yeah. No roses and sunshines. I can attest to that. So, I would say on a scale from 1 to 5, what would your rating of this film be?
Oh goodness! Oh no! I didn't even think of that. I'm trying to think of what Marvel film would be a 5 out of 5, and it'd probably be either Infinity War or Endgame.
Yeah, the two-parter is 5 out of 5. Don't change anything about that.
And so I'm probably 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Sort of.
Yeah.
It's just it was really great, and it's the honoring of that culture or community, as you had said. It's the honoring of that community, and through martial arts, how the martial arts were really shown, really utilized, and really respected. And because there was so much respect, 3.5 out of 5. Because then, once leaving the theater, it was just kind of, what was that film like? What really happened during that film, and who were those characters? So that sort of took away from it a bit,
Yeah.
And perhaps when I watch it again, and I will, perhaps I'll say, "Oh, this is a 4 out of 5," But it's
now
I am fine now.
Yeah. Whoa, But concerning just being once again, honoring and celebration and veneration of Asian American life and Asian American, myths, legends, wonders, imagination, and necessity, that gets a 5 out of 5.
Yes, and definitely. And it does. I will do want to mention this, and I feel sorry for not mentioning this during our Eternals review. The diversity, not just on the screen, but off the screen. The director of this was Destin Daniel Cretton, Cretton. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who is also of Asian American descent. So it's great to see. Well, he's Hawaiian, but I guess I don't want to be insensitive, but that's sort of Asian culture as well.
Yeah.
Forgive me for my ignorance if I'm offending anybody out there. Diversity on screen and off screen is really to be applauded, as well as this movie and the future movie with the Eternals, and is also very independent. So I want to applaud Marvel there too. He didn't really have a lot under his belt from what I looked at. Some of the movies, well, I guess this is a list of movies he's done. I Am Not a Hipster, Short Term 12, The Glass Castle, The Shack, and Just Mercy. That's all he's done.
Oh, okay.
And of course, these are unfortunately films I haven't seen or didn't know about. So to me, he's very much an independent and very much an unknown. And I think after this, he will be. So I want to applaud him for and everyone on that film for what they've done. And I know for a fact that if this was under any other studio than Marvel, I think it would have been whitewashed. We would have had the token white guy be the best friend and not someone like Katie. Aquafina did a great job, as you said, with the humor, and not only that, just develop of the character. So, for Marvel, what faults it has, it is at least doing something great here with diversity and giving people a chance. So I want to applaud it wherever it is. As for, bravo, yes. As for rating it, I would say I was going to give it a 4 out of 5. I was more generous than you. I was like, it had a lot of the culture, a lot of the things I liked. It did bring action, comedy, but again, it's just some of the story, the writing is just a little bit more time on it would have been better, especially when in regards to the Mandarin. Because here's this hype up of this character and what horrible things he's done in this world, and it wasn't Tony Slattery type of reveal, disappointment, I guess, in some people's words. But it still didn't live up to the hype we've been getting since Iron Man.
Yeah.
So, good movie. I can't say I'm going to be seeing it again. But I expect great things for everyone who is associated with this, and we'll definitely be seeing the Ten Rings again, as it said on the credits. So they're not done, and I suspect Shang-Chi is not done yet either. After this, it is the Eternals, which is in November, if I remember correctly. We still have at least half a season left of What If. They just went over episode 4, which is a Doctor Strange mysticism heavy episode. My favorite so far. One I've seen multiple times, and I can't stop talking about it. Because
I haven't seen it yet.
You haven't seen it yet? Oh, well, we're definitely going to have to talk about this. Yeah.
I just
I
didn't see that episode yet.
But you're in for a treat. You are definitely in for a treat, my friend. Maybe we'll do a review of like the whole series once it's over. Because I think there's only supposed to be 10 episodes or something like that in this season. We could possibly do that in the future. I don't know. But one of my favorites. And again, we have Eternals, and then Spider-Man coming in. So a lot more to talk about.
Venom 2, right?
What's that? Venom 2, yeah. Which I just also heard news-wise that it's going to be a PG-13 movie and not our movie.
Really?
Yeah. I kind of have the same look.
What?
What?
Well, they talk about watching that trailer. Okay, that trailer played before Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and it's there was cursing in the trailer, and they're talking about eating people. And I didn't see the first film. I haven't seen Venom yet.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But I've got a nephew who had talked to me about it a little bit. And he'd let me know. Yeah, it's pretty violent. And that character, probably needs a hard R, sort of like Deadpool needs a hard R.
Otherwise, you're watering down the characters, and especially with someone like Carnage. In order to get the full effect of how psychotic this character is, how bad this character is, you need to see him doing what he's doing, and what he does is mass murder. It's genocide. Definitely, that's what he's trying to accomplish. So yeah, I don't really understand. But that's in the future. Of course, there is always more news to report on what's happening in comics. There will be future episodes of this podcast. What we want to do, what we want to talk about. We have something coming up from Marvel and goes into DC, and I see your eyes just brighten. Oh yes, your realm of greatness, the DC universe. We're gonna start delving into that a little bit more. We've shown love for Marvel, and duly noted, it's well worth it. But we need to show some love to some other places, and DC is your love. So definitely, we're gonna start delving into that. Of course, more lessons, more informative, how-tos and why-fors, just delving into the culture that is geekdom, that is comics. As always, I am Zach, your ever-loving blue-eyed thing with the amazing John Birdall, and we will see you on the next episode, my friends. John, you want to say goodbye?
Oh, yes, I can say goodbye. Goodbye, Zach, and goodbye to each and every listener who has listened to this. We do have an email address. If individuals do have comments, we're on Instagram as well. The email is comicspaceseries@gmail.com. And so people can send us comments, concerns, if people are concerned. If people are concerned about
questions, I hope. We want to start where everyone feels they're involved and can contribute. If there's something we're missing, if there's something you'd like to see us do, send us a line, email us. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. Contact us any way you can. If there's someone you think that would like this, send this to them. We're also starting, I think, our review of Eternals and Spider-Man No Way Home was put on YouTube, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, well, I've got a YouTube channel, and so I posted it there. And so, perhaps we ought to create a YouTube channel for this series. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Zach. It's like I put it on mine, but it's like the series doesn't have one of its own. So probably soon it'll have its own on YouTube, and that can be checked out.
We want this to be a community where everyone can participate, everyone can get in and enjoy it, have fun. So like and subscribe wherever you find this podcast. Share it with everyone you love. Show some love, and we'll continue to show you love.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I mean, besides family, that's something that keeps, I guess, that I do keep thinking about that film. It just really hit home the fact that how we do need family, even though, it's complex and complicated. And so, yes, join our family, join our comic space family, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon.
Bye! How do I know? Oh.